Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I've spent the last 2+ decades of my life. Today, I'm in bloody Beaumont. Beaumont is a care level 2, which means that they send a lot of people in there with chronic care issues. Like you got hepatitis, you got AIDS, you got asthma, or physically immobile. There's a lot of people over there with wheelchairs and a lot of medical condition. Beaumont has a hospital down the street from them to be able to take care of the people that are suffering from these illnesses. But from my personal experience and the things that I've seen on the yard, there's a lot of medical malpractice that happens in, not just in Beaumont, but all throughout the federal system. I mean, you don't go to prison to get like top level medical care, and in prison, they don't really want to help you until you're on the verge of death. I played basketball in my younger days, and in Beaumont, I blew out my knee. And I walk on my legs every day, so I know there's something wrong with my knee. When I went to go get medical attention, they told me, oh, my knee is just sore. Here's some ibuprofen. It wasn't until I went to Atwater 2 years later, and 2 years after I was in Atwater, did I get the medical attention that I need. And when they did an MRI, they showed that my meniscus was torn. But I had told people in Beaumont that there was something wrong with my knee, and they disregarded it. But in my situation, it wasn't that bad because it was just a joint, a torn meniscus. It wasn't my health or my life that was at risk. But other people that was in Beaumont with me that had medical condition wasn't as lucky as I was. I had a friend named Chuck Freeman. I just texted him to ask him about his celly's name, because I don't remember his celly's name. But his celly was an older white guy. And for weeks, I'm not talking about days now, I'm talking about weeks. For weeks, he couldn't shit. He was constipated. And he went to medical and tell him, hey, man, I have issues. There's something wrong with my body. I can't shit. So a couple of times they took him to the outside hospital. Whoever these doctors that they had contract with to oversee, the treatment of the inmates, I don't know if they're incompetent or just don't care. Because they took him out to the outside hospital a couple of times and they sent him back, say there was nothing wrong with him. Here's some pills to help you shit. He took them pills, it didn't work. And he kept going to medical every day, complaining about his condition. And again, medical would just turn him back. There's nothing wrong with you, stop crying. That's all they kept saying to him. Well, we live in the body that we live in. We know when our body is not functioning accordingly. We know when we're not healthy. But these people that work in the penitentiary, these subcontractors that work with the penitentiary to oversee the inmates' conditions and stuff, all they're doing is cutting a paycheck, because they really don't care about who we are as human beings. If you were out here and you had the platinum or gold standard health insurance or whatever, these doctors going to cater to you and make sure and run through every test that needs to be run to make sure that you're a paying customer. So they're going to make sure that you're getting the treatment and the care that you need. Well, as inmates, we're not a paid customer. I don't know how exactly the health insurance cover inmates or how our policy is covered to these subcontractors and stuff, but they don't look at us as human beings. they always think that we're just going to cry about every little issue, or that we're just trying to get on certain medications so we can get high. A lot of stuff that goes into their psyche that downgrades us as human beings to them. Well, my friend Sally, like I said, I'm going to get his name, and then when you guys comment on whatever, I'll type in his name for you guys so you guys can go and verify this subject that I'm talking about today. But he couldn't shit for weeks, 2-3 weeks, constipated. Took him out to the outside hospital. They didn't do a freaking thing for him. All they gave him was some pills to help him, shit. He went to a sick call. That's what we call sick calls when you go sign up for medical in the prison that you're at. They kept sending him back to the unit. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Stop crying. Well, his shit bag burst because it was so full. And his feces went up into his organs and his stomach and spread through his bloodstream. And I'm sure you guys can guess what the conclusion was. He died. A guy died in Beaumont just because he couldn't shit. Think about that. All they had to do was do some x-rays or cut his ass open and clean him out or something. There was 1,001 thing they could have done to preserve this guy's life. But because our life is so devalued in the system that they don't care. Now his family is probably going through a litigation and lawsuit under wrongful death because a lot of us, my friend Chuck, I told you before in another story about when the GD shot caller got exposed for being a rat. He's real good with the legal stuff. So he's helped a lot of people file lawsuits, file their appeal. And he was in communication with his family about what was going on leading up to his final days. This guy was in pain, like excruciating pain. And every time he went to medical, they sent him back. But he wasn't the only death at Bloody Beaumont that wasn't, got butchered and killed for medical reasons because of their lack of concern for us inmates. They label you inmates, they label you ex-con, they label you a menace to society, whatever it is. All these acronyms, all these labels is to devalue you as a human being. I had a cellie next to me. He was a red-headed white dude. I forget his name because it's been so long, but he has an asthma condition. He has a chronic asthma condition. That's why he was in Beaumont. And on his card, it says, if this guy hits in each cell you have a panic button for emergency. So when you hit it, the office, your button on your door lights up and there's a beep, 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 beep that goes off on the control downstairs for the COs to come out of his cell and look who hit their emergency panic button. And regardless of why that button was hit, the CO's job is to go up to that cell that hit that panic button and find out what was going on. Well, during this time, the yard had blew up. Everybody had just gotten into a big-ass riot, like the whole yard blew up. And I will share you that story as we journey down a little bit further. But today is about the medical malpractice that inmates suffer in the penitentiary. Now, my neighbor, he has an asthma condition, a chronic condition. And on his card, it says, if this guy hits the panic button, your ass better notify medical and check on him. Well, like I said, the yard just blew up, so we're on lockdown. And the administration is trying to move everybody around because through the course of time that we were there, everybody was trying to move into units with their homies and stuff. So you had just groups of people that were just together in units. You know, the DCs piled up in one unit, the TS, the Texas MA, you know, all the gang members and the ABTs, everybody's just trying to be in a unit with all their homies and shit. So the administration had this bright idea to break up the prison. So they started moving everybody around to different units, different cells and stuff. We live in CA downstairs. So they came and picked up my neighbor and moved him upstairs to CB. You know, he moved out. We don't know nothing about it. He just packed up his stuff and he moved out. But later on that day, we could hear the radio calling for emergency, and we look out the window. You know, they got windows in your cell. Some of them are sprayed with that like frost shit where you can't see out of it, which is something I don't understand. Like, why don't you want us to look out the window? All we see is the fucking fence and yard and wall and gun tower. But, you know, everything they do is to emphasize that you're in prison as if we're not going to remember it, especially if we're spending decades in there. Like somehow we're able to look out the window and see the blue sky and the fence and the barbed wire and the grass and the gun tower that we might forget, slip our mind that we're no longer in prison. You know, I just have a hard time trying to understand the psyche of these administrations and of these people that run the prison. When you go to the feds, especially if you're going to a USP level, most everybody that I've met is doing 10 plus years. If I run into somebody that's only got a couple years left, that's because they already done 20. You know, but still, we're always locked down. We're in a hostile environment, but every little thing they do in there while we're in prison is to just emphasize that we're locked up like we're gonna freaking forget. So we see they're running upstairs, you know, all the staff. We don't know what's going on. They're running upstairs doing whatever we're doing, whatever. Well, later on that day, while the CEO was making their rounds, and my neighbor that to my left asked him, "Hey man, what happened over there?" Because you know when we're locked down, if the deuces go off, it means like something happened in the cell, meaning maybe one of the cellies butchered each other. That happens a lot, and I have plenty of stories to share with you about that. So, but he comes down and he says, "Oh, that guy fucked up there." He was talking about the CO. Because when they moved my neighbor, who has a chronic asthma condition, upstairs, you know, carrying his property up the staircase, and just the whatever movement caused him to have an asthma attack. And when they finally put him in the cell, he hit the panic button to notify the CO that was working in the unit that he had an asthma attack. But you know, a lot of COs, they know that, you know, a lot of inmates complain about shit and they hit the panic button, and sometimes they feel like it's just another inmate crying about something or wanting some toilet paper or wanting whatever it is, a grievance form, a cop-out. So they get tired because there are some mates that just hit the panic button when we're locked down just to fuck with the CO. I'm not going to take that away. I'm not going to say that shit don't happen. And there's a lot of people that cry in there about every little shit. But so what? This is your job. When the fucking panic button hits, your ass go to the cell and find out what's going on. Whether it's bullshit, whether it's real, whatever it is, your ass supposed to go up there and check. Well, this particular CO felt like it wasn't worth his time to go fucking check on this dude that hit this panic button. Not even looking at the dude's ID card or the cell where it come from, because on his ID card, it tells you, hey, when this motherfucker tell you he's having a panic attack, an asthma attack, notify medical. It says that on him. I seen it for myself. He showed it to me because he was playing softball, and I was trying to recruit him on my softball team, but he ended up playing with the white boy, because they call that white boy the race card on him. But he said, hey, man, you know, I have asthma, this and that, because he wanted to play with me and he was telling me his condition, you know, on certain things. Don't push him too hard because he might fall out. So finally, when the CO, they still got to make their rounds every hour or every 30 minutes where they go and hit the buttons around the tier and look in the cells or whatever. We're on lockdown. You're supposed to make your rounds all the time because some people might have hung themselves and whatever else is going on. So when this particular CO finally decided that he was going to go walk around the unit, he sees that the light on this guy's cell is lit up, meaning that he hit the panic button. So when he mosey over there, looks in the window, the guy is blue, dead. Another life just wasted away because these correctional officers and these medical staff don't have any pride in their job, or just not doing the job that they signed up for. I'm in the penitentiary against my will. I didn't sign up for this. I can't leave when I want to leave. But the people that work in prison, they signed up for it. They signed and agreed to do the job that they're being paid to do. But yet, they don't want to do that job because, what? We're not worth it? What, they're just collecting a paycheck? That's why I'm so adamant, like the people that work for the state, the people that work for the federal government in the prison system, it's nothing but a welfare check, man. Because if you really have skills in your life, you'd go out and work for a company. You'd go out and open your own practice. So when you have doctors, when you have these dentists, whatever it is, when they're contracting with the federal prison, they're at the bottom of the barrel because obviously they don't have the skills to go and start their own practice. So they want an easy paycheck and contract with the federal government. Yeah, I know some people comment and tell me, man, calm down, get over it. But please understand that 20 plus years, I've seen it all. And it pisses me off that these people look at us that we're less than human. They don't want to treat us accordingly. These individuals had serious medical issue, but they disregard them because we're not a platinum card holder, because we're just inmates, because we're a bunch of freaking criminals, bottom of the barrel, menace to society. How do they get to dictate whose life is more valuable than the next? You know, regardless how you feel about us, we're still human beings. And a lot of us, we have standards. Yeah, the things that we do, you might not agree with, and some of them are fucked up. But how do you value someone's life? How do you put a price? How do you put anything on? How do you say this person is worth more than you, or that your life is worth more than the next? You know, as an entity of a living being, we all just want to live our best life. And a lot of things that transpire through the course of our life is part of our environment, our upbringing, or even just our circumstances. Because not all of us is born with a silver spoon in our mouth. Not all of us is born with the opportunity that others have. So me being me, I'm the last person to ever be able to judge you on how you live your life on how you eat. But that's besides the point. These people signed up to work in these facilities as medical staff, as correctional officers. They have jobs that they're supposed to do. And because they neglect to do their responsibility, you have 2 lives that were lost. There was more people over there that died of medical condition, but I don't really know the details of all the other cases. But these ones I was personally involved in or know because one of them was my friend Sally and the other one was my neighbor. But at the end of the day, I guess you can't expect the penitentiary to give you quality health care. Welcome to the USP.